good is he for the game? How good is he for the game of baseball and really cultivating a new generation of baseball fan?
Oh, it's awesome. I think, like I say, I think this generation of baseball player and talent, it's great for the game. I think a lot of these guys are really having fun and enjoying the game. And it's a new era, a different era than when I came up. And I think, 10 years from now, you're going to see a different era too, that people are going to do different things, approach the game a different way. And I think at the end of the day, we just have fun, and enjoy the game.
That was right. Manny Machado was pretty good too, I would imagine.
Yeah, Manny's awesome. I know Manny for a while, and he's another guy that loves to have fun and enjoy the game.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Marty Time TV. I am Marty Caswell. That is NFL analyst Daniel Jeremiah. This show is brought to you by the all-new Jamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. Let me start today's Tuesday show by apologizing to my guest. I love DJ, one of my favorite people on this planet. But last week, I had to kind of move things because Mike Schilt decided to resign, retire, or something. So it threw some chaos into my day, into my week. But DJ, it is so good to see you. Been a long time, my friend.
I'll be honest. How nervous were you today that maybe something else was happening? Like you never know, anything else could break with the pods at any time.
100%, except that I think it was reported that Albert Pujols, who you saw there in the open when he was a member of the Dodgers, Bio Intensa DH, that he was going to interview tomorrow. And my expectation is that Ryan Flaherty, who Preller wanted the first time around, is also going to interview this week. So we shall see what happens. So I felt pretty good that at least for today we'd get there. But to your point, I wasn't sure if maybe we'd have some clarity on AJ Preller's future between last week and your appearance today.
Well, I mean, it sounded like, I guess, from the interview that I heard with Grupner, that's happening. Like eventually that's going to get done. It would be crazy to me to move on from AJ at this point in time. It doesn't make any sense. Like you've done all the hard work. Like you've laid the foundation. Yeah. I don't know that I can remember. I know there's some holes, but they're all concentrated really in starting pitching. If you look at this, to-do list for the offseason, and at least it doesn't sound like there needs to be any type of major, salary cutting, that we've had in the past. So, man, all you need is you just got to get some starting pitchers. Just go get some starting pitchers, and you can find some, a little slug with a first baseman DH type, which that's usually, those guys are around. You've got all the hard stuff, done in terms of position players. The bullpen is absolutely loaded. So it's to me to like change course and bring somebody new in, that doesn't make any sense.
Okay, real quick, because you mentioned you heard the interview with Grupner, and I did not hear that interview. So was he asked any questions about payroll or what it might look like? And here's one thing. I know a lot of people have asked to speak with Grupner over the past year, and he has not done it for whatever reason. So I'm not sure if they're still sorting things out or if he's going to wait to go ahead and speak before he had clarity on Preller's future. So what did he have to say?
Yeah, I mean, they didn't get anything about a number, but he's the similar line from years past, which is we're always going to take every dollar that comes in and put it into payroll. And we've had a top 10 payroll in the past. It sounds like that's kind of the plan going forward. And then the thing that caught my ear, though, was he said, we understand we've fallen short in the playoffs the last couple of years. He even used the term slug. He's like, we need to find some more slug, and we can do that by both, getting it more out of the guys we have, but also knowing we need to go upgrade the roster. So, I mean, there was nothing in there about like, hey, we've got some contracts coming off the books, but we also have some other contracts that are climbing. So we're kind of are where we are. It wasn't that at all. It sounded a little more optimistic payroll wise.
Oh, good. Was he asked any specific questions about the Preller relationship after everything that was written about it?
Yeah, he just said that he reiterated like they have a good working relationship. That's kind of the phrase du jour, I think, is, good working relationship. And then, he said it was a little bit convoluted because he said, we're doing this organizational review and this is kind of all part of that. But those discussions with AJ, have begun or will begin. And it's our hope that he's our general manager beyond 26. So, I mean, that sounds like it's going to happen, but I don't know why. Sometimes you just could be a little more clear and just say like, yeah, look, he's done a really good job. He's learned a lot. From mistakes along the way, and our organization's coming off 2 back-to-back successful years, and we got to take the next step, and we know he's the guy to do that, and we're going to work on getting that done. Like it wasn't just like cut and dry like that.
I did want to ask you your quick reaction, and I promise you guys we're going to talk some football because I love talking football with DJ. When he was a weekly guest on the Darren Smith show, I used to always say, listen, DJ, You get 1 minute of Padres and 19 minutes of the
We
NFL.
violated that rule. We violated that rule quite a bit.
Every single week, and a week like this, I think you can make an exception, especially with all the buzz about the managers. But can I just ask you, were you surprised at all about the ending, Mike Schultz unceremonious ending with the Padres?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see it coming, but the one thing that was interesting with him is the way he came in, that, gosh, they won in St. Louis and ran him out of there. So he clearly, had an issue of getting along with some folks. And then by everything that you read, this was not a issue with him and AJ. It wasn't an issue with him and the players. It sounded like the whole coaching staff. And I know Darren had said some of that was ready to revolt. So once all that information kind of came out, and then you piece together with, well, wait a second, why the heck did St. Louis get rid of this guy when he's won? That started to make a little bit more sense at that point in time, that he kind of realized this was not a good situation going forward. But I mean, now they got a good opportunity to try and find someone. I'm curious your take, Marty, because to me it feels like you need someone who, one of two things you have to do this hire. One of two things. Number one is you have to have someone who has a pre-existing relationship with Manny and Tatis, that is going to be able to get those guys focused and going in the right direction. Or you have to bring in somebody who's going to have their respect from day one. When you're ready to win, I don't think you want your manager coming in there for the first, 2 months of the season trying to curry favor or win over the locker room, so to speak.
Right.
You know what I mean? You need somebody who come in and hit the ground running. And this is a team that, last year you give away some games in the first half of the season. You can't afford to do that. The division was so close. So I hope that they find somebody that fits that criteria. And when I started thinking about that, the three names that off the top of my head that they've mentioned, obviously Pujols, who we're seeing the video here, would have their respect of everybody day one. You'd have to surround him, and they have a good staff, but surround him with a lot of help, and he has to be willing to make it kind of a group, a group process with the decision making, and lean on some people who have more experience than he does. But that's one. Niebla would already have the respect of everybody. Then you'd have to bring in somebody to fill his role on the pitching side, and then you mentioned Flaherty having been there and kind of knowing what he's walking into. I don't think you want to hire somebody blind here.
Ryan Flaherty. Are you talking about a guy like Nick Hundley? I know Nick Hundley has been rumored. Apparently, he turned down the Giants job. He lives here in San Diego. Great dude, great family guy. I'm just wondering if you turned down Buster Posey, who was your teammate, a guy that with the Giants because of family reasons. I don't know that AJ Preller is necessarily the right
but that could be where you park yourself for the for the 81 home games. If your family loves San Diego and this is going to be your home base, and they don't want to make San Francisco your home base. John Lynch pulled it off, going up to the Niners. But most people kind of want to have their family where the home base is, and that might just be as simple as a veto from the family saying, hey, if you want to do the Padres thing, that's cool. You'd be gone on the 81 road games. We get 81 days with dad at home versus you go to San Francisco and you're gone, 24/7.
I know so many people out there are saying it has to be Albert Pujols or bust. It'd be interesting to me because he's never been a coach in Major League Baseball, and that's completely different. DJ, whether it's going to be in college football, the NFL, or Major League Baseball, how many truly great players, I'm talking the best player of their generation, have made that transition from Hall of Fame careers in their respective sport to being a manager?
The only one that I can think of off the top of my head was Larry Bird. Larry Bird took the Indianapolis, took the Pacers to, I think, the finals. They lost to, and they went to the Eastern Conference Finals against the Bulls several times. But those were really, really good teams, and he was a great player. And I just remember during that era because Magic tried it out, and it was a disaster as a coach. So it is very rare. And then you look at like some of the guys who've gone the executive route, Michael Jordan being the most famous. Yeah, it's just a totally different job. But I also think that where baseball is now with the integration of all the different people from the front office and the coaching staff. I mean, I don't know if there's such thing as the, one man decision maker anymore for a manager. It's a collaborative effort. And that's the challenge of somebody who's as great as Pujols is like, wait, I have to share decisions. Like I don't get to just do all this kind of by myself. Would he be open to that? But I think in terms of installing an approach, professionalism, getting the respect of everybody, he would check all those boxes for sure.
He's the instant respect, the moment that he walks through that door and he's not so far removed from the game. You're like, wait, you're who? You did what? Why are you telling me about this? He would have the instant respect to some of the most important players in that locker room.
You know who I would love, by the way, who I have not heard his name mentioned, and I'm sure he's just going to be the Cardinals guy eventually, but Molina, Yadi Molina would be
okay.
Catchers have a great track record of being really good managers. And he was kind of him and Posey I would say during that whole run, that whole era were kind of the two like kind of warrior catchers, who got the most out of their pitching staff, always were clutching big at bats and brought an intensity, maybe a little more vocal with Molina, a little quieter with Buster, but the catchers make great managers.
They do. Then how about a guy that Mike Schilt compared to Molina, and that would be Martin Maldonado.
Oh, there you go. We could just go. We could just make.
Why not?
Why don't we just make Niebla the manager, you Darvish the pitching coach, and Maldonado can kind of be the bench coach there, and then off we go.
Okay. Well, okay. I'm gonna put. Okay. I had Darren Smith. Speaking of which, on the show last week, and we were gonna do a game every 2 years. We'll do this now. We're gonna guess who's the Padres manager going to be. So every 2 years. A couple of years ago, we wrote names on a piece of paper. I think you were part of that too. Do you want to go ahead and do it? I said
Flaherty. I think I might say the same person 2 cycles in a row.
By the way, just imagine the Padres fans getting their hopes up. Pujols, Hall of Famer. Here's footage of Manny and Fernando Tatis and Pujols, and then all of a sudden they're going to go back with Flaherty again. I'll give you another name. I'll give you my guess.
Yeah.
And you're talking about catchers, AJ Ellis.
Ooh, and he's in the organization too.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, very, very, very well respected.
I mean, I just know the name. I don't know anything about him. But then the other one who's in the organization, have they mentioned, and I can't remember how you pronounce his name. Is it Service or Cervase?
Oh, Scott Service?
Yeah, because he's in the org too, right? And he was the manager of the Mariners.
Yeah.
So he's got managerial experience. I don't know how involved he is with any of the players.
I don't either. And I think Prother interviewed him a few years back. I can't remember if it was a Tingler cycle, the Jays Tingler cycle, or a different one. But I think at that time that was more of like a favor to like get his name out there. Yeah. So I'm not sure, but yeah, why not? Let's bring in all the catchers.
Can I give you my one pet peeve on the on a little bit of the anti-AJ crowd, which is when they mention the number of managers, and I'm like,
okay,
you realize like the first part of this whole thing was such a tear down, like build up the farm system. That manager was never going to be the long term. That's literally like you're going up there to take you're literally going in there to just turn your shoulder and take one for the team. Like you got to go in there and you're going to eat a bunch of losses and you're going to get some experience. That was unfortunately Andy Green was kind of found himself in there. And then right when you took over, so Bud I think was one of the first ones to go. So you have like kind of the initial ones. Then you have the guy who's got to just grind his way through the rebuild years. So I think you kind of start with, to me, like the Tingler hire you can be held responsible for, then to Bob, to Schilt, and to here we are now. But I mean, at least with Bob and Schilt, they went to the playoffs.
That's a great point. Any final thoughts on the Padres before I turn our attention to the NFL?
Yeah, I think one of the topics of the entire offseason is going to be, do you make Mason Miller a starter? And I'm almost of the mind, I kind of like the idea of saying he can be kind of our 2-inning, specialist where we can insert him instead of even making him the closer. I kind of like the role that he was in at the end of the year. You can go put out fires in the 6th and 7th inning one day, and then maybe the next day you close out the 9th, and then you get 3 or 4 days off, and now you're pitching the 8th and the 9th. Like just kind of having that fluidity and flexibility with him, I think there's a lot of value. And just as hard as he throws, I'd hate to try and stretch him out. And then, for somebody who throws sliders that hard, I was thinking of the Nelson Lamet, like how, it was dominant, but you just can't start and throw that hard on that pitch and stay healthy. Like it's just hard to do.
Would you rule out Morhone?
Yeah, same thing. I mean, there's a case to be made. You have a bunch of guys who can give you 2 innings, which is kind of a fun way to approach it. If you looked at, Morgan could give you more than 1 inning. Morahone, Estrada could if you needed him to. Rodriguez, they've got some guys in the minor leagues that have big arms. Like you could kind of do something different of, instead of having just your traditional starters and relievers, maybe you have a 1 or 2 fewer starters, and you have some of these days where you're just rolling these guys through.
We're talking to NFL analyst Daniel Jeremiah. You can follow him on social media at Move the Sticks. Speaking of which, I caught your excellent podcast. It wasn't today with Bucky Brooks, but you mentioned who is the best quarterback at is it Guacamole? Guacamole right now.
Whack-a-mole.
Whack-a-mole.
Yeah.
That's that game where you just it pops up and you just hit it on the head, right?
Yeah. You're just trying to see, where the hole is, and then can you look at things clearly and be able to find the mistake and find the hole. Trying to remember going through who I was talking about within that
Dak
game.
Prescott.
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
Dak Prescott.
Because you see with quarterbacks, a lot of times the NFL is all about late movement. So the ball is snapped in college or in high school, especially. They kind of line up in what they're going to play defensively. And then, as you progress, then it's like, okay, right before the snap, they'll move. And then when you get to the NFL, the movement takes place after the snap with rotations of safeties. And it's very difficult for young quarterbacks or quarterbacks in general to be able to see all these moving parts after the ball's been snapped. But Dak sees it immediately, and wherever the void in the defense is, he's able to attack. So that's why I kind of look at it as when you were a kid and you go to that whack-a-mole, wherever that thing pops up, you got to be able to hit it. And he's excellent at that.
I'm not sure why I said guacamole. I clearly have
guacamole
sauce.
Yeah,
guacamole. It's in my head. Okay. Real quick. Speaking of AJ Preller, I meant to ask you a question regarding one of his favorite teams, and that would be the New York Giants. And speaking of the Giants, their former quarterback. Can you please help me understand how Daniel Jones has found so much success with Shane Steichen in Indy? Why it didn't work for him with Brian Dable, the alleged quarterback guru with the Giants, and how Jackson Dart has been so excessive? That's like 5 different questions in one.
Yeah.
But I would love your thoughts on this.
Well, with Daniel Jones, we'll start there. I always talk about like the 3 Ps with young quarterbacks. You got to have a good play caller. You got to have some protection. You got to have playmakers. And Daniel Jones he never had all that with the Giants. And I actually think Daboll is a good play caller. I think, you kind of had that in place, and that's carried over with what he's done with Jackson Dart. But, you got, Malik Neighbors as a rookie last year. You saw, what he can be from that standpoint. But Saquon was, he was out. So you never had that whole thing working together at one time with those playmakers, and the offensive line was a train wreck. So Daniel Jones goes to Indy. Not only, do you have those 3 things all in place, but you've got a coach who has literally taken a top 5 pick and said, no, you're my guy. I'm benching the top 5 pick. I believe in you. Versus Daniel Jones always wondering, when am I going to get taken out in New York? And they're booing me and nobody believes in me. Like, they pumped him full of confidence, on top of everything else. And when you watch him and then seeing him play live in person last week, they keep him really clean. He's in clean pockets, and he's very, very comfortable and confident. And they do just a really nice job. But this is not new. We've seen, even just from the New York market, you look at Sam Darnold, who's left the New York market and has been excellent. You look at Geno Smith, not doing great now, but had, started there and has had a lot of success in Seattle, before he ended up with the Raiders. And now, you get a chance to see what's going on with Daniel Jones. Not to mention, Baker wasn't up there, but that's another example of someone who got to a better situation and is really thrived. So that's the Daniel Jones side of it. The Jackson Dart side of it, he's got so much confidence, and he plays the game with that confidence. I mean, he's throwing to Daniel Bellinger, who's a good tight end. But when Neighbors is out, like, they've got Wan'Dale Robinson, they've got a bunch of 3s and 4s from a receiver standpoint. The offensive line is okay. It's not great, but he's still, he's making plays. I don't, want to compare him to Mahomes as a complete player, but the one thing he does that Mahomes did at a young age when he got out on the field was he could be real sudden and urgent to get away from pressure, but then slow everything back down and be able to see the field and deliver the football, instead of like, okay, man, I'm helter-skelter to get out of there, and then it's kind of all over the place and it can get a little fast. It's a weird combination of being able to speed up and slow down, and he's got that.
Is it too soon to start talking about last year's quarterback class as one of the best in recent memory? You're talking about Caleb Williams, who's showing some progress, Williams, Jaden Daniels, who's out, Drake May, Michael Penix, and of course, Bo Nix.
Yeah.
Or is it too soon, or can we do it now?
No, it's a really, really good group. And I think they're guys who have a chance to hold down these jobs for quite some time. So when you can occupy, 5 quarterback gigs, for a decade, which is potentially the case here. And we'll see what happens with JJ McCarthy. He comes back and, gets his opportunity, what he can do with it. But yeah, that's on on where we are right now, Drake May's playing as good as anybody in the league. Bo Nix is just in the perfect spot there. It's a perfect marriage with him and Sean Payton. You're seeing Caleb take the strides now that he's got the right guy there with Ben Johnson. And, the one, it's just because of injuries, and that's the only thing I worry about with Jaden Daniels is just with his frame. Is he going to be able to be available at all times? So that's the only concern there. And Penix is, they're winning a lot of games. He's a little bit up and down, but he's got a ton of ability, and they really love him there.
We're talking about the young guys, the next class, the next wave of these great young quarterbacks, but the two of the older guys, and it's crazy to go ahead and talk about Patrick Mahomes as old or older, but you talked about it on your recent on your Move the Sticks podcast. The Chiefs look like they're back. I think they maybe took a little break, but it looks like they are full force, showing that they are just an offensive force right now.
Yeah, they've the left tackle, the rookie left tackle Simmons has been kind of in and out, but the offensive line's played well. They just need to get their weapons back, and they kind of came back in little waves here. So they get Xavier Worthy back to give him the field stretcher, and now you get Rashee Rice back, who can kind of win underneath an intermediate. So and to go along with the Hall of Famer and Kelsey. So they've kind of got all their pieces and all their weapons back. Mahomes showed up in the best shape I've ever seen him in. I mean, he lost weight. He's moving around. He's their leading rusher for a good portion. I don't know if he still is, but he was a leading rusher through like the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season. So he's focused and ready to go. So they started out rough. They were missing some offensive weapons. They now have those guys back, and they are absolutely rolling. So this is a division that had 3 playoff teams last year, Marty. I think there's a very good chance we see the same thing this year.
Okay, you mentioned who are the 3 teams? I know.
It's not the Raiders. I can.
No, it's not the. What was it? What was your line? It was the Raiders theme was run, sack.
Yeah.
Right?
You just watch the game. It's run, sack, punt. Run, sack, punt.
Oh my goodness!
It was a rough watch, and then mix in some penalties in there. I don't want to forget about the penalties, but they're not going anywhere. The Chargers have had they've been smoked with injuries. So, I think they'll start getting some of those offensive linemen back potentially this week. So, defensively, they've got to figure some things out there. But I still think in the AFC, they're a playoff team. And then, the Broncos defense is good as any in the league, especially their front. And we discussed Kansas City. So I think it's the best division of football right now.
Who's the most complete team? Right now, as things stand, and you mentioned the injuries the Chargers have faced, especially on the offensive line, and that to me is the biggest factor. Look what made the Colts so successful. But right now, Bo Nix is very young quarterback year 2. Who's the most successful team as it stands?
Well, right now, I'd say the most complete team is Detroit, and I would have said it's between Detroit and Tampa Bay, and we kind of got the answer to that last night. So I would lean towards Detroit. I think Indy's offense is as good as any in the league. There's no fluke about where they are record-wise. I mean, they are really good offensively. Defensively in the secondary, they have some injuries, but I think Herbert threw for 400-something yards against them. The big-time quarterbacks, I think, going to have some success against that secondary. So awesome offense, scoring 30 points a game, never punting. But, and that secondary gives me a little bit of pause, a little concern. I think that those other 2 teams in the NFC, Detroit, Tampa, I think they're a little more well-rounded, a little more complete, and just keep an eye on Philly because they've got that, Dodgers, won a championship on cruise control vibe to them, just kind of waiting to push the fast forward button to get to the meaningful games in the playoffs.
Are they like the opposite of what happened with the Chiefs? You mentioned like Mahomes coming back in like the best shape that you've seen him in. I wonder how much of that was getting humiliated in the Super Bowl.
Oh, I think so. And I think, Kelsey referenced it as well, that was not something that they enjoyed. And they came in really focused and renewed and wanted to make a run at this thing. And not knowing how much longer Kelsey's going to play, I think that gives you a little more urgency on Mahomes' side of things too. But yeah, I mean, to go that far and be in that game and play as poorly as they did, I'm sure that sat with them all off season.
DJ, if I may, I first got to know you years ago when I was scrolling social media, like at 2:00 in the morning. Yeah. And I saw this great tweet from the late, great Chris Mortensen of ESPN saying that, watch out, there's this kid, Daniel Jeremiah, and he's going to be a shining star in this business. I saw something that you put out there this weekend when his son, Alex Mortensen, won as interim coach at UAB. Can you just speak to what Chris Mortensen meant to your career and how cool it was to see his son win his very first game as interim coach?
Yeah, it was a pretty cool moment. I've told the story before, but Mort's the one who, opened all the doors for me to get started in this whole business and helped me get, an opportunity with ESPN, which led to the opportunities with NFL Network and kind of what I get to do, which is pretty cool. So he's always championed me. He always promoted me like you found me, like a lot of other people found me, because he was really kind of pushing me from a social media standpoint. But it's been a family friend forever. Alex had come with Chris to see me, play when I was in college. So, so I've known Alex since he was a little tiny kid. I went and saw Alex play in high school in Atlanta. Wow. And he's, followed his college career, and he kind of went to a couple different schools, bounced around a little bit, but was incredibly bright. And then really, our friend Bruce Feldman had written a piece on him a few years back. He was at Alabama for a long time, and he was kind of like Nick Saban's secret weapon because he knew the offense so well. Their offensive coordinators would, team would win a national championship. Lane Kiffin would go get a head job. Sark would go get a head job. All these guys kept leaving, but Alex knew it so well that his job was really to coach the coaches. New coach would come in. He would teach them the existing offense and the terminology, and then kind of off they'd go. But he's had opportunities to coach in the NFL that he's turned down. He's had big opportunities to be offensive coordinator at all these other schools, big, Power 4 programs. But he, felt a loyalty to Trent Dilfer and was with him there at UAB. And unfortunately, it didn't win as many games as they would have hoped. So Trent gets let go. And as fate would have it, Alex's first game is against the best team on their schedule, Memphis, who's number 22 in the country, undefeated. Their starting quarterback's out at UAB. And the team went out there and won. So I know Alex doesn't like any attention. He doesn't want to be singled out. So I'll do what his wishes would be and say it was an unbelievable program win for UAB. But there was somebody on his couch in San Diego with his wife and son watching that game, cheering like heck, and was really pumped for him to have that moment.
That's awesome. What a great story. I'm so glad that you're able to go ahead and tell it. All right, DJ. Hopefully, I really, really, really enjoyed this conversation. Hopefully, we can do one maybe next week, and we'll
anytime.
see. Yeah, awesome. We'll find out whether or not you go with Flaherty.
I'm gonna go
with Flaherty. AJ gets his guy.
I'm gonna go Ruben Flaherty.
You can't do that. You can pick one. Now, one thing I do know: it doesn't matter who the next manager is. Flaherty is Flaherty. Niebla is your pitching coach. That's going to be the guy.
Yeah,
that's,
he can't go anywhere.
One of AJ's. No, he's going absolutely nowhere. Maybe you make him assistant head coach, assistant manager. I don't know.
There we go.
We'll find out.
I'm fine with that.
Maybe
but here's my thing: if it's not Flaherty this year, I get the dibs on him for the third time. If that were to come up. So he's
2 years from now, you're going with Flaherty again.
Don't even ask me.
I'm going
Yeah.
to go AJ Ellis. That's my
AJ
official
Ellis. All
pick
right.
until next week when you join me. And we're going to find out whether or not Pujols can be the Larry Bird, has potential of being the next Larry Bird.
That's what we got to hope for, Marty. That's what we're hoping for. Larry Bird.
Oh, gosh, I know there's so much more there. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
DJ
Frank Robinson, maybe. Frank Robinson, did he win anything?
Frank Robinson.
They won a World Series maybe with the Orioles like in the 80s or something. I don't know. That's the only other name I can think of.
All right. I agree with you, Alex and Erica. DJ is the best. I enjoy his stories. Go Padres. You tell wonderful stories. Post it up. Got to be Niebla, if not the rumor Pujols. I'm telling you right now that the Padre fans are enjoying the ride of the Albert Pujols conversation. And I'm going to agree with DJ. It's going to be Flaherty, who, by the way, I'm told has gotten much better in his with his interviews. He did them in spring training for the Cubs. Yes, that's the most important thing. How are your medias? How's your press conference?
Oh, we got to look.
That's
out
how
for
we're
the
judged.
Media here. We got to look out for the media. Thanks, Marty.
All right, guys. Thank you. That's Daniel Jeremiah. I'm Marty Caswell. This show has been brought to you by the all-new Hamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. Have a wonderful day. I'll be back later this week. Don't forget, you can follow DJ for his amazing content at Move the Sticks and his podcast. Thanks, DJ. See you guys.
Bye, guys.
You should start by saying